The one thing. What does it look like, that one thing? Well, when you practice the one thing, it helps you release the concerns that you have no control over. Hey, can you just admit there are things in life you have no control over? Let's practice this together. Say, I have no control over certain things. Some of you really struggle to say that because some of you struggle with being a bit of over-controllers. You have no control over the weather. You have no control over the economy. You have no control over when you live or die. You have no control really over a lot of things. There are certain things you can control, but there are a lot of things that are out of your control. And you need to learn that God is in control, that God is sovereign, that God has all power, that there's nothing beyond His ability, and you need to learn to say, God, I give this to you because I have no control, but praise you because you have all control. Listen to what it says in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 6 and 7. Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that He may lift you up in due time. Listen, cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you. I want you to notice that the prequel to casting your anxiety is humble yourselves. So he says, humble yourself before God. Humbling ourselves before God is admitting that we don't have all the strength, we don't have all the answers, we don't have all the wisdom, we don't have all the power, that we do not have all the solutions. And so we humble ourselves before God, saying, Lord, I can't and I don't, but you can and you do. And so I get my proper position before you, acknowledging that I can throw what I can't control on your shoulders and trust you with it because you actually care for me. It's a powerful concept. Casting our cares upon Him because He cares for us. The second thing that the one thing does is when we practice the one thing, it helps you put life into a God storyboard. Sometimes we have our life in our storyboard, and we forget that God is the center of the storyboard. So we have to pause and recalibrate and remember that God is in this story. Psalms chapter 46, verse 10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." Be still. How many find it hard to be still? Just to sit in a service, your knees kind of shaking, you're getting a little twitchy, just to sit and be still is hard. But even if you sit and are still, to make your mind quiet down is a harder challenge. Because some of you can lay up bed at night, but your mind is racing around 1,000 things. And here's what the Bible says, be still. That means physically, mentally, and spiritually. And listen, and know, that means consciously be aware of the fact that I am God. That you are not God, that He is God. So I still myself, I quiet myself, and I step into the awareness that He is God. And I just pause there. I simmer there. I'm quiet, knowing that He is God. That means that He is sovereign, has power over all things, that He's omniscient, He knows all things. It means that He's immutable, He never changes because you cannot improve upon perfection. It means that He is faithful. It means that He is true. It means that He is kind, that He is loving, that He's just, that He's eternal, and that He's my God. I pause, I'm still, and I think that God is God. It tells us in Psalm chapter 62, verse 5 through 6. Listen, let all that I am wait quietly before God. Let all that I am my emotions, my body, my mind, my personality, all that I am, wait quietly before the Lord. For my hope is in him. He alone is my rock and my salvation, my fortress, where I will not be shaken. You see, the psalmist is telling himself, I need to wait quietly. It's the practice of solitude. It's the practice of quieting our heart. Some of us are comfortable with noise and agitation, but we're very uncomfortable with quiet. In fact, some of us, quiet makes us nervous. If you were raised in the city, you want noise. A little car honking, little siren in the background, little music playing. But you know what? Those of you who were raised in the city, when you get out into the country and it's quiet, you're like, this is eerie. Why? It's just too quiet. But let me tell you, there's something about the practice of embracing quietness, about being still. Not just still to be still, but still with an acknowledgement that God is God. It tells us over and over in the Psalms about quiet and stillness before God. And what we're saying when we're quiet and acknowledging that he's God is that we're acknowledging that God is in our story, that God is sovereign, that God paints a central part of our story, that his influence cannot be ignored, and so we quiet our soul to remind ourselves that God is in the middle of our story. Number 3, the one thing practice helps us renew our inner strength. Isaiah chapter 40, verse 31 says, but they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagle. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. They that wait upon the Lord. What does it mean to wait? It means that when you're off to go somewhere and you're in the car and the car's running and you're waiting for your wife and you just in the garage or in the driveway, you're just waiting. What does it mean? It means that you're waiting for her arrival. You're waiting for her to be ready. You're ready to go, and sometimes you can be anxious and do that little honk or call up and say, hey, are we coming or what's going on? Waiting means that I'm paying attention to their time. Waiting means that I'm patient. To wait upon God means that I know that God is there, but I'm waiting for him to move. I'm attentive that he's there, but I'm waiting on him. I'm waiting for his voice. I'm waiting for his presence. I'm waiting for his movement. I'm just pausing and consciously waiting for God. That's what it means. Those that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. We're waiting for God. We're pausing and spending time just before the presence of God. I hear some of you saying, Pastor, you don't know my household. I got a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, and my husband's like a 4-year-old. And so I got all that happening in my own household, and I can barely breathe. I go to the bathroom, and my 3-year-old says, Mom, are you in there? Mom, can I come in? I'm just trying to escape. I mean, it's really hard. I'm reminded of Susanna Wesley. She was the mother of John Wesley, who started the Methodist movement, Charles Wesley, who wrote a bunch of hymns that you would recognize, and she had an extremely difficult life in part because she had 19 children. You thought your house was chaotic? And I love what Susanna Wesley would do. There was always someone that needed attention, always a baby that needed something, and a kid that was falling, and someone that needed her attention. And so she developed this practice. She would get in a chair, she would take her apron, and she would tell her children, when I put my apron over my head, that means I'm spending time with God. Don't bother me. And so with 19 children around her, she would put her apron over her head, her Bible under her apron, and she would read the word and find her one thing, her quiet space that gave sanity to her life and the ability to raise some awesome children that followed God and influenced the world because she found her one thing.